Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of our three-part IT Ops Times live micro webinar series. I'm Dave Rubenstein, editor-in-chief of IT Ops Times, and today the conversation is going to be about the top 3 ways to find network innocence and hold ISP and cloud providers accountable. Now, if you missed episode 1, in which we discussed Broadcom's 2024 study on the state of network operations, you can view it on demand in the Learning Center on itopstimes.com. So for today, with us to define and discuss network innocence and accountability is Broadcom Chief Technical Evangelist Jeremy Rosbach. Jeremy, take it away.
Thank you, David. Let me share up my screen here. Okay. Today, we're talking about the top 3 ways to find network team innocence and hold ISP and cloud providers accountable. And what do I mean by innocence? I think most of us out there know, as we have troubleshooted and triaged many system or network outages in the data centers that we support, that sometimes we get into war room fights where we blame the database guys and the app guys blame us and the infrastructure guys blame the database guys. And this is taking that so-called argument outside of the 4 walls of your data center and applying it to the public networks that we use now more than ever. And I'm going to show you exactly how Broadcom can help you find that innocence almost in real time and save a lot of hours with the troubleshooting, the triaging, and the war room scenarios. So real quick, let me build this out. We know today that modern networks are very dynamic, whether it's software-defined technologies, whether it's the fact that we're using more public networks out there with automated route changes and these unmanaged networks we have no ability to see inside to be able to understand the deep granular data we need to troubleshoot issues because we are not gods of those networks. This makes for a very complex network operations day to day. The fact that many organizations are having trouble hiring expertise in the networking field means that level 1, level 2 NOC operators may have to do what level 3 SD-WAN engineers and architects had to do in the past. So we need to take this complexity and as vendors make it as easy as possible, simplify the day-to-day operations of our network teams. And then finally, again, moving visibility outside of the 4 walls of the data center into ISP networks and cloud provider networks to understand the entire end-to-end user experience network path and see every hop along that path to understand where you can find that innocence. And I will show you what that looks like. So first and foremost, we're going to get it right into it. The first way to hold ISPs accountable and cloud providers accountable for their performance as you use their networks to deliver your user experiences is we have to embrace this new network delivery path. Like I said, most of the user experience for network delivery moved outside of our 4 walls of the data center when the pandemic hit. We were working from home using mostly ISP, VPN, etc. We could have been anywhere in the world. And it changed the way the network path looks today versus many years ago when I was running data centers. I used to know every single hop, every single packet, every single user, every single route, every single device because I managed it all. It was in the 4 walls of my data center and branch offices. And again, that's not the case today. 75% of the network delivery user experience has moved into ISPs and SaaS and cloud provider networks because that is what the evolution of networking is doing. We're adopting more cloud. We're adopting more software defined. So we need to embrace this big visibility gap we have in network observability to be able to fill those holes and see what we used to see years ago, which was every device, how it was performing, what we can expect from it, and how it is affecting our users. So I'm going to talk about removing these blind spots and finding that innocence. Second way is data, data, data. I can't talk about data, data, data enough. Most industry analysts out there who give definitions of what network observability is today always mention the quality data that should be collected. If I'm in my kitchen cooking dinner and I have 8 out of the 10 ingredients for my recipe, it's not going to taste the same as if I had 10 out of 10. And I'm telling you right now, if you're collecting faults and performance and flows and software-defined data and telemetry data and any other Wi-Fi data, et cetera, but you're not looking at, say, logs, you may miss that network needle in a haystack and you will not get the results and still have some blind spots in the way you run your network operations today. So latency, loss, and jitter, and capacity, and MOS scores, and fault and performance and flow. It's a long list, but this data can be used to intelligently recommend or remediate everyday use cases and issues that we all deal with today when we run our networks. And starting small with a small portion of a data or a small application that the network serves up, that entire network path can be used to start small, grow this observability solution, and move it out of your four walls of the data center into ISP. And then, of course, good data, which can be used for baselining and thresholding, is always a great way to move from reactive to proactive. So if your solution, your observability solution, is collecting the right data and has the calculated algorithms and analytics in it to perform these type of future forecasts, that is another check mark in your observability success. And then finally, trust but validate. And listen, there's not just 3 ways to help you find network team innocence. There could be a lot more, but under these 3 ways, there are a lot more bullets that we can talk about and get very granular. But trust but validate. I believe Broadcom's the only people preaching this right now, and the reason why is we take a inside out versus outside in view of the entire new network path, like we talked about. For example, I'm at home in Maryland. I'm giving this webinar. I'm running over my Wi-Fi. I'm hitting my local Verizon Fios residential ISP. They're handing it off to however many other transit ISPs that is just doing routing. And then my company uses Google Cloud. So eventually my destination is going to be in the Google Cloud for this Zoom app. What does that network path look like? How many hops are in it? Does my Broadcom IT team own any of that infrastructure? No, none of it. So if I called them and said, listen, I'm giving this webinar, but the audience can't hear me, and they start to troubleshoot, most companies who don't have this visibility are not going to be able to help at all. It's my Wi-Fi network. It's Verizon's residential network. It is Google's network. Nowhere in that is a Broadcom IT representative, a god of that. So we're going to talk about how to get that visibility to troubleshoot and triage, even though you don't manage these networks. So application complexity, front-end web servers can be in one cloud provider. The database could be in your data center. The middleware could be in another cloud provider. It has taken the network path and has really distorted what it looks like. Active and continuous monitoring. So, if you are architecting a new SD-WAN solution, we would recommend to build out that entire network path if you can for your users in a test environment, actively understand if it's going to go over ISP and cloud providers, and get that data from those unmanaged networks to understand how your SD-WAN solution may perform. Is a bottleneck going to be in an ISP or cloud network that you're not aware of yet? Validating, trusting the technology, but validating what user experiences and how it delivers those is what we're talking about here. And all of that can be turned into, once that SD-WAN solution, for example, is in production, constant validating that every single device, every single hop is meeting the requirements we expect for exceptional network delivery is what we're talking about here. And this is what it looks like in the end. I'm going to show you a demonstration now, but we're going to talk about how Broadcom helps you fill these visibility gaps to be able to find quickly and easily the root cause of network delivery experiences, even if they are in ISP and cloud networks. So right now, Dave, you can see my screen?
Yes, sir.
All right, perfect. Thank you. All right, so we're looking at a dashboard, which is where every network team should start, something that takes an enormous amount of data and metrics and multi-vendor technologies and protocols, et cetera, and shows you the overall global health of your network landscape, whether you have 15 different vendor technologies or just a few, it doesn't matter. to be able to quickly come in and see where do I need to focus my attention this morning, especially for NOC operators out there today. This is what we deliver for you guys. So as you can see easily, we have some very small violations. I know this is small, so I'm going to make it bigger for you. We can see that we have connectivity and data loss and some more data loss when it comes to this specific Denver to AWS, or excuse me, Microsoft cloud network delivery path. What does that network delivery path look like? Can we visualize it? So when we visualize it, it's going to look something like this. So imagine this is me in Maryland, and I'm trying to hit, Google Cloud on the other end for this Zoom webinar. These would be all of my hops from my Wi-Fi router that I'm staring at right now, to its gateway, to Verizon's residential ISP, etc. This is what a fully visible, removing those visibility gaps, looks like when we look at end-to-end network delivery performance. I'm telling you right now, Broadcom IT does not own any of these hops. I don't either as the end user. These are all my personal network or public ISP or cloud providers. So if I'm having issues, how would we start and begin to troubleshoot this? The solution also is able to understand exactly who the providers are. So again, in this example, we see CenturyLink. This is probably a West Coast example, going to Microsoft Azure. Google across cloud interconnect is in there as well. So right now we now see and have the ability to understand what the ISP is that's delivering this network experience, and who to go to if there is an issue. If we continue along this example and triage scenario, diving deeper into this monitored network path from my home out to Microsoft Azure in this example, we can see a large amount of violations. And again, this is focusing your attention on what matters, where to begin your troubleshooting. So right away, we see a lot of issues going on, a lot of network changes. Again, looking at the network path, and then we start displaying all the great metrics that are coming from that network path as we see what the user experience looks like regarding this network delivery. And, capacity looks great. We see some blips and data loss, which we saw in the dashboard in the beginning. Again, there's some blips in latency too, and voice is also affected at a small amount. So now we're getting more granular, right? We started from understanding where to focus our attention to now understanding that this network path does have some data loss in it, just like we expected. But where is this data loss? Is it in your network? Is it in my home Wi-Fi? Is it Verizon? Is it Google Cloud? So being able to understand exactly when we run let me run this diagnostic real quick. And we can see, looks like we have two issues going on, but we can see from Denver out to the Microsoft Azure cloud environment that at every hop, we're identifying it, but obviously we are seeing a large amount of data loss. In this demo example, it's a small amount just for demo purposes. But again, we have found the device in this Microsoft network. If you can see that, MSN net, right? This is a Microsoft network, a device inside their environment that has a data loss set to a threshold that we set. And when it breached it is when we got this notification. So right away, I know in this example that Microsoft has a device in their environment that's supporting my user experiences that is having packet loss. I can't fix it. But how long would it have taken you and your teams to figure out it wasn't you, it was them, with this type of granular information? You take that to Microsoft, you take it to the ISP, and I would assume this would get fixed a lot faster than it would have searching for that network needle in a haystack. And then finally, this doesn't just apply to network delivery. It applies to how network delivery is affecting the application experience. So again, for example, this is just a simple open a web page, log in, click something, and log out. But as we can see in this scenario, the application experience looks pretty good. Our average times for doing each one of those steps, milestone steps, is quite small, depending on what your thresholds might be. But we can see right away the effect the network is having, especially that device in the Microsoft cloud environment that's having packet loss, and how it affects the application that network path is delivering for our user. So if I go back to the slides, I just wanted to show you really quick, a typical triage scenario. Again, it always starts with alarm, number one, with tools at your fingertips to be able to begin to do those standard operating procedure troubleshooting, like pinging and trace routing and telnetting and understanding configuration management changes that may have happened. In an SD-WAN environment, it then goes to looking at granular metrics like underlay and overlay performance of the SD-WAN vendor and the underlying hardware architecture that's supporting that SD-WAN. Getting even further into analysis of network path performance over time and what it may look like in the future, visualizing that data path that you can see right there, that network path. And then finally, as you just saw, isolating the device within that path that is having those performance issues. And then it looks something like that, like we just saw. And that is the top 3 ways that your network teams can find innocence when it comes to ISP and cloud provider network architectures. So again, you don't need 1,000 eyes to pinpoint an issue. You just need one. You need one vendor, one solution that has the ability to see as far and wide as they can. It's the reason why we're number 1 for the last 4 years in the industry reports for network observability. And if you want to connect, I'd be happy to talk more about this and how we do it within the Broadcom solution. Dave, back to you.
Fantastic, Jeremy. I know a lot of organizations struggle with that all the time. The network's going down or they're losing data and they can't figure out where it is. So this is just phenomenal in being able to help them, as you said, triage things a lot faster. Thanks, of course, to Broadcom for sponsoring this micro webinar series. And thanks to our viewers, as always, who love to tune in and hear these things and stay with us. Tune in again next time when we look at the top 3 ways to overcome today's NetOps challenges while waiting for IT to mature. Until then, so